Welcome to this edition of Empowered 305. With us here today is a long-awaited guest. I'm honored that you're here with us. Her name is Alex Argudin, and she is the CEO to Miami Parking Authority. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Kenya.
Wow, I can't believe you're here.
Oh, finally.
A lot of people see Miami Parking Authority, right? And they're a little confused. But I want to know, first and foremost, what your role is there.
So I am, like you said, the CEO of the Miami Parking Authority. I took on that role about 5 years ago, right before the pandemic, before your city manager came to be the city manager here. And our role is to manage, operate public parking for the city of Miami, although we have expanded our operations to the city of Doral, and we also do a lot of management for the Miami-Dade County.
We still see parking meters, right? That's a thing of the past, but you've kind of preserved a lot of it.
So we preserved some of it, right? Because you also have people from the outside, international people that come and they don't know, how to make the payments for parking. But we have diminished the amount of the actual machines that you see on the street. We're down to less than 100 machines on the street.
And it's pay by phone, right?
It's pay by phone. And now we've also introduced Park Mobile, which is our second app. So we just introduced Park Mobile about a month ago.
Right.
And it's been incredible. We are actually shocked at the amount of people who have already started using Park Mobile as well. That was introduced by Miami Beach across the way from us. So they had Park Mobile, we had Pay by Phone. And now they have introduced Pay by Phone as a second app. And we have also introduced Park Mobile as our second app.
And it's so useful because lots of times when I'm off and I come into the city and I already have it on my phone, and it is extremely useful. Just recently, not just here in Miami, there were other cities that were also being affected by the QR codes, right? There was fraud.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because here in South Florida, a lot of people fell prey to that. And I think we were able to push the message out about how you should not fall prey to or be a victim to it. You guys quickly and swiftly made sure you transitioned and informed people, and we also helped in pushing the message across. Today, that's not happening anymore, right?
No, it's not. So imagine that happened right before we rolled out Park Mobile, which means that we're changing all the signs. There's 7,000 signs in our city.
Yeah, that's
quite a bit.
Yeah.
But we couldn't wait for those signs to start getting changed before we went ahead and we covered the QR codes. Now, the QR codes is something that you see everywhere. So it's not that a QR code is bad. It's that you need to be vigilant of what it looks like. So if you see that something looks fraudulent, like a sticker, you need to be conscious of that.
Yeah.
So we went ahead and we covered ours because we were just in the transition of changing our signs to now add a second application. So we did that. We covered all our signs. We did not have anyone call us to tell us that they had gotten a fraudulent payment through a fraudulent QR code.
That's great news.
Yeah, that was great. But we got ahead of it really quickly, like you said.
Downtown continues to grow upward, right?
That's right.
What are the future plans for parking in the downtown corridor?
Well, that's a great question. So throughout the pandemic, we started looking at our parking structures. They are aging already. They were 50 plus years old. And so we took the opportunity of looking at what we could redevelop. So as opposed to just building another parking garage, we have two major projects in the core of downtown. So it's what we call Garage 2 and Garage 3 that will be redeveloped, but not only with a parking garage, but with residential above. So one of our projects will have about 700 units. And that garage will expand from 400 parking spaces to about 600 parking spaces, public parking spaces owned and managed by us. And then we'll have another project that is right directly in front of Miami-Dade College that will have 1,200 units and 1,400 spaces. So we will be the driver of public parking. We will be providing public parking for those areas that are not even providing not one space, because as you know, in downtown, you could build residential without having to build one parking space. So we want to be able to provide that parking for the public.
And that's a great service.
Yes,
it really is. So you live, let's say, you live in the downtown area, and sometimes there's, let's say, various people that drive, and that is going to be incredibly useful for people to be able to park, right?
Right. So you could do park and ride, right? So what we have is what you call interceptor garages, right? You're in the peripheral of downtown. So you are able to park and then using maybe a freebie that we also provide in downtown, you're able to get from point A to point B.
We used it. My staff, we used it the other day.
You just told me
We
too.
did. That was awesome.
Yeah, it's a great service. We
And
have it
I
there
got to
and here.
tell you, the staff was phenomenal. They were very, very cordial.
They're great.
They really good. I
Very
loved
responsive.
it.
Yeah, they're
I
great
did.
too.
And I would love to further expand on the freebie and obviously inform people because they don't know. So we immediately jumped in and we're like, wow. So we had to split in between. Our group was 8, so 4 and 4. And I got to tell you, both drivers were absolutely amazing. It was
They're
really
excellent.
good and so useful. Wow. A lot of people need to know more about that service.
Yeah, and when we have special events, we call them and say, hey, can you provide the service for that special event that's in downtown? And they go ahead and they do it. They've been great partners. We not only provide it there, but we also provide it here in Coconut Grove.
Talk to me about residential parking because we shared just recently about something that's going on with the residential parking, but I want you to further expand on that.
Okay, so there are two things. There's one that's called RPP. It's a residential parking program as our city continues to grow. Unfortunately, sometimes the neighborhoods get impacted by the workers or people who are bleeding into their neighborhoods. And so there's something called the residential parking program, which is like a block, for example, like one of the residential blocks, they get together and they say, hey, we want a residential parking zone, which means that no one from the outside can park there except the residents that are from that zone. And if they do that, they have to get, they have to get signatures. 60% or more have to agree to join this program. They go ahead, they turn in their application to us, and that residential parking zone is established. I mean, that's grown exponentially since I started working at Miami Parking Authority, and it's because of the growth of the city of Miami. So if you are in a residential parking zone and somebody from the outside comes and parks there and a resident calls, we typically don't go into residential neighborhoods. So I want to be very clear about that because we will leave the neighborhoods alone unless somebody calls and says, hey, there's a car that's been parked here all day. It's none of ours. And so then we'll go and we'll cite and we'll figure out whose car it is so that they can stop parking in the residential parking zones.
And that's there's an area in the roads that we've gotten calls about.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you touched on that because I remember we would get continuous calls now.
Right.
Now I can see that there's
Right. It's that the roads is a linear district. So what happens is that all the businesses or any construction that's going on the main, on Coral Way, then will bleed in to the neighborhoods, and then the neighborhoods don't have a lot of space for themselves to park. Right. So it's funny. The roads is one of the residential parking programs that has expanded the most. Has expanded into the roads.
And I remember this is years ago,
Yeah.
and now I
Nothing's
see
changed.
it. Yeah, just like around the Marlins, the Lone Depot.
That's also true. That's also expanded out there as
Yeah.
well. But we have other programs for them to make sure that they are also, parking in the parking garages, the people who are going to the park, and we're protecting the neighborhoods, around that area.
Can you talk to me about the residential parking program?
Yes, absolutely. So now that we rolled out a second app, we thought, hey, we remember that when we rolled out Pay by Phone 16 years ago, so we were one of the first cities in the country.
That long?
That long.
Oh.
And it was a really phenomenal rollout of a program that we didn't know was going to work or not. It was so new to the public. And one of the things to give back was we're going to provide a residential discount program as a thank you for the support that we received from the community and for them taking the risk of downloading the app and using something new, right? A new technology. And that went great. We have saved Miamians about $1 million since we
Wow.
rolled out this program. And so now we wanted to let people know again, remind them that this program does exist. We have a lot of new people and a lot of new faces coming into the city to live. So we wanted to let them know about the residential parking program. You go online, you have to sign up, you have to have proof of your registration, your vehicle registration. And when you're approved on our end, then it gets disseminated to the apps. So when you use your app, you are automatically, they know that as a user, you are a resident of the city of Miami, and you get more than 50% off the rate.
That's huge.
So it's
That's huge
$1.40 an hour.
savings,
That's
yeah.
a huge savings.
And what's the website that you have to go on to that?
So it's miamiparking.com. Just go to miamiparking.com. It's going to be right there when you open the website, you'll see the Miami residential parking discount.
It's very user friendly.
Yes.
And you guys have done a phenomenal job. How long have you been with Miami Parking Authority?
You know, I was doing the math before I came here. It was 19 years I've been here.
Wow.
And then 14 prior to that here at the city of Miami. I worked here for many years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So 33
you
years.
have an open invitation to come back and tell us all the wonderful things that you guys continue to do.
Oh, I would love to do that. There's so many things that are happening in Miami Parking Authority that I would love to share with you and with our community.
You have put the Miami Parking Authority along with my boss, Art Noriega, on the map. Congratulations.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. And that's a wrap. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.